If you're like me, then you're constantly looking for new ways to reduce your carbon footprint. I picked up the eco-friendly Earth Bag Premium from the Hamilton Perkins collection, and I'm so happy about it. Each bag is made from about 16 recycled water bottles. This one-of-a-kind premium bag is the answer for all of my on-the-go needs. Take a step and address plastic waste with these unique, sustainable Earth bags. Head over to hamiltonperkins.com and use the promo code PASSINGTHEBAR for a 15% discount for being our listener.
All right, cool. Let's fucking get in it.
Let's do it.
This podcast is brought to you by Stratus Media Group. Check. Guys, welcome back to Passing the Bar podcast, where we're a group of bartenders talking about the ups and the downs in the industry and all of the social issues that we deal with. My name is Chris Pryor, and today I've got Evan.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Steve.
How's it going?
Our special guest today is going to be Chef Chris Hill.
What's going on, guys?
I've known Chris for a decent amount of time, but since the first time that I met him and now when he's sitting in front of us, he's achieved a lot of things, from talking on Ted Talks to being flown around the country to speak about leadership to a couple books. And I'm very happy and excited to have him here with us today, especially because he comes from the trenches just like us and is now, in the restaurant space doing something that follows his passion. So, Chris, who are you?
Thanks, guys, for having me. This should be fun. And first of all, I'm a chef now, but as Chris, you know, I've spent plenty of time behind the bar, kind of on both sides of front of the house, back of the house. But I'm from Atlanta originally. I grew up there. Went to college, got a master's in marketing, went into consulting for a little bit, realized I didn't want to sit at a desk the rest of my life. Ended up moving up here to work with my cousin who owns some restaurants. Opened up a restaurant with him called Three-Way Cafe. Did that for about 5 years. Decided to sell my share in that. That was about 3 years ago. And kind of since, I've been growing my brand here in the industry, talking a lot about leadership and company culture, building a brand, kind of what that entails. And like you said, traveling, speaking, doing a bunch of writing, and kind of doing a winding road to get here.
What are some of the things that you focus on speaking about to your base?
I think probably the biggest thing right now is how do you keep good people around? There's so many good restaurants popping up that you have to really offer something different than everybody else to keep the good people around, to be able to pay people properly, make sure they make enough money. So I think a lot of that goes back to who you are as a company, the culture that you want to create, and then having people feel like they're a part of something that's not just coming in to work a shift and make a couple $100 and walk out, but that they're kind of invested in kind of the bigger mission. And then once they've kind of grown, then you give them a chance to kind of do it for themselves. Maybe running your bar, but maybe they have a chance to kind of go do that somewhere else.
From my own experience, coming from being a bartender to enjoying what I do, to management and ownership, seeing the fact that I enjoy what I do and I'm also good at what I do, taking pride in my job, and then having opportunities to make the next step throughout leadership, whether it be through management or a shift lead or a bar lead.
I think a lot of times we think in this industry, and maybe it was this case 15, 20 years ago, but we think that, the boss is just kind of out for themselves, and
right.
As long as they make the money.
Right.
And now I think the great leaders and bosses out there, they want to see us succeed. I remember I had a job, I was waiting tables in Atlanta, probably 15 years ago, and my boss said, Chris, and he was addressing, it was like a pre-shift meeting, addressing the whole staff, and he said, if you leave, great, but only if that's not a lateral move. I want you to move up. I want this to have been a stepping stone somewhere for you to get in your career. And obviously, especially I think front of the house, it's not necessarily going to be for a lot of people what they're doing for the rest of their careers.
Right.
But how can you use that opportunity to help them kind of learn more about the T-shirt shop that they want to open up when they're done?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, going back to when I was a kid, one of my first jobs working at Rockefeller's, is a restaurant down at the oceanfront. I was just a busboy there, or I started washing dishes, but then essentially a busboy. But there was a general manager there named Larry Cullen that kind of took me under his wing at this time, and basically he just saw a work ethic in me and just fanned that fire and was basically trying to bring me up as much as I could. So, I went through the whole, restaurant situation. He's called me his protege. Like, I was just this kid, and he's like, I'm like this 15-year-old kid. But, I'd worked there from 15 up until I was about 21 or so. But through the ranks, he brought me through, through the kitchen. I'd been able to go through the kitchen. I'd been able to serve, bar back there. And then, essentially when he moved to another place, he brought me over there as well to help him out. But it was cool. It was like, it wasn't like he was just the boss that, like you said, that old school, like, do as I say, just do it now for the money. And then, but he was somebody that, like, was trying to mold me as a person, which is awesome.
Do you guys see in the bar side of things, people getting a job is maybe they're like a bus boy, and then they want to be a bartender, at some point soon. So they get maybe they're a bar back, and then they're obviously the next step is pouring drinks behind the bar. Do you see people trying to skip steps? I know in the kitchen, a lot of the people they're like, oh, I'm a line cook. 2 years from now, I want to own my own place, and it's like, well, there's a lot of steps.
Right? Yeah. So it's just funny. So today I just left, but so the kid today, he's a food runner right now, but he's about to move to Hawaii. I only have him for like a few more weeks until he leaves. But he's been offered a position to serve on a cruise ship out there.
Sick.
So he needs a little. He's like, can I just train? You know what I mean? I'm like, on a business aspect, you would say, like, well, what's the purpose of me training you? Because,
you're going to leave.
You're about to leave anyways.
Right.
But he's been a good kid the whole time I've been there, just a month and a half, about a half. But he's been great since I've been there. And then he asked me kindly, could I get this opportunity? I said, absolutely. So today he's training to be a server. I'll probably get him a few shifts before he leaves, just so he has some sort of comfort with the job.
And 7 out of 10 people in that situation probably wouldn't have shown up the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's there this morning. He came in. He wasn't even supposed to work today, and so I said, that's awesome, man. So we'll get you started, and then hopefully by the time you leave, you have like some sort of sense of what you're going to be doing out there. But hopefully it helps.
It's cool to be able to
It's a
set
foundation.
people, very much so, with like setting them up for success. Like right now, currently, you may not be able to see how that may affect him.
Yeah.
In his life.
Right.
But realistically, like, I mean, think about the time that you got the chance.
Yeah.
Or the time that you got the chance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or the time that, you, Chris, or I got the chance. And where would we be if we didn't have that chance?
Right.
Where
Right.
would we be if we weren't awarded
The opportunity.
if we didn't put in the work and the due diligence and didn't have the leadership that was there in front of us to believe in us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that he's not going to get it until
He gets there.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, look, man, this is going to be a whole other thing when you get there, and just make sure you save your money and don't party too much with those cruise people because they're going to
that's what they
they're
do.
Gonna fuck you up, man. They're going to fuck you up, man. Just be cool.
That's what they do.
That's what I told him. I said, look, don't get caught up, man. Have fun, but save
it's-
your money.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where you just kind of have to like learn
Yeah.
it, and especially like coming up through the ranks.
Yeah.
Because another thing too, I have with getting ready to open the new restaurant, there's a bar back that I'm getting ready to take, and I want him to step into the next space.
Yeah.
Like I know he's been ready for it. We've been trying, we're training him the whole nine, and like this like shift starts to happen. When you're like. I don't want to call it a lower level employee, but let's just from a bar perspective, if you're a bar back, looking to make the next step to bartender, once you get that whiff of that, it's going to happen. It's like your previous job that you had, you stop caring about it.
Yeah.
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 They're like, oh, I'm a bartender now.
Yeah.
And the whole reason why you're going to be a bartender now is because you did a good job at your last job.
Right.
Yeah, and now you're stopping.
Right.
Go back to that attitude.
Just be good.
Yeah.
I had the same thing that happened to me when I first started. I mean, I was working at Chili's.
Yeah.
Baby back.
And I was
Barbecue sauce.
I was serving at Chili's, man, and I got an opportunity to bartend at the college bar that I was working at, and I remember going to my manager, and instead of like, it's not like I try to bring about the conversation in like a lighthearted, like, oh hey, like I would like to like bartend, or like, hey, how could I, try to find a good way to speak to management about it, because there could be like different. Being tactful when you have a conversation with a supervisor, with management, especially when you're trying to make a leap or go into a different direction or be promoted, is like a skill to learn that I did not have at the time. I'm like,
Just coming in hot, kicking the office door down. Yo,
yeah. Hey, I'm a bartender now, man. I don't want to be a bartender here. And they're like, okay, yeah, you know, they do the same thing that every like supervisor does. Oh, okay. They give you this like airy, like no, not like political answer, not really answer.
When something
eyes
opens
glass
up,
over.
Yeah.
They're just like, I got other shit on my mind.
And I'm like, you know what? In a month, if I'm not a bartender, I'm fucking done.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I ended up leaving Chili's, obviously. Because they were like, you're a 21-year-old kid, man. This is the first bartending job you got.
Yeah.
You want to like, now you want to shake margaritas?
Yeah.
Well, and I do think that there's when like, we're hiring people, I think we can do a better job, especially now with like the hiring and the interviewing process. You know, what are your goals? Do you want to be in this industry for the long haul, or do you want to, you know, like I mentioned before, do you want to open up your own t-shirt shop? Knowing those kinds of things going into hiring them or not helps us kind of shift the conversation to, you know, giving them valuable tools they can kind of use down the road. And then I think also, you know, check-ins. Like if I tell people, like when I go in, you know, different companies, you know, having like a once every 3 weeks, once a month, you know, put it on the calendar. 10 minutes, just you and me in the office, you know, shooting the shit. Not
That's awesome.
Not like a bitch fest, but like where you can kind of open up and I can kind of understand like how you feel things are going, what I can maybe improve on, and I can kind of give you some feedback too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good conversation.
Oh, yeah. So you've done some TED Talks. I'm a huge fan of TED Talks. So how was that experience?
Man, so
I've never known anybody. I know actually one other person, but not someone as like I do you. So
the first one I gave, I think that was the first time I was ever on a stage in front of people, and
Wow.
and this was 2014, 15 maybe. It was actually over at the Ted Constant Center, or like one of like the little smaller rooms there, and I get up there. I was kind of talking about my shift from being, you know, stuck in an office all day to doing work that I loved, and kind of what I learned along the way of you know, doing work that mattered, you know, giving back, that kind of thing. And get up there, have my, you know, slides ready to rock and roll, and I get mic'd up, and all right, here's Chris Hill. You know, people cheering and come out, and my mic's not working.
Oh no.
So then I have to have a handheld mic, but I had you know the clicker for the PowerPoint. Plus I had a prop that I was going to use. Well, now both my hands were tied up, so I couldn't use my prop anymore. So that's the first thing, you know, first curveball. So, but I get rolling, and then I'm, you know, click the next slide, and the batteries are not working in the PowerPoint clicker.
Oh, it was like a nightmare.
So I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then the guy in the back, who's, you know, the AV, he sees I'm trying to click it and it's not working. So whenever he thinks I'm trying to click it, he kind of hits it in the back. So
it's a timing game.
And the back, yeah, which wasn't an exact science, but it ended up working. So it was a good kind of trial run for this pretty much the same talk I gave in Tedx Tuscaloosa about a year and a half later. It's a really cool experience. Definitely kind of nerve wracking. You feel like this is my kind of chance to, you know, tell the world about, you know, what's important to me, and then you kind of realize, you know, 3 years later, those things are still important to me, but maybe something else is important to me now too. So
Yeah.
Cool stuff though, for sure.
That's awesome. That reminds me of the pop-up, the first pop-up I did. So at the first pop-up, so basically I'm like, you know, a friend says, hey, you do a pop-up? And I'm like, I've never really done a pop-up, so let me just Google that real quick. So I look it up, and then I get all this, you know, equipment, but I don't check the, you know, the wattage and all that stuff. So I set everything up. I'm there. So I'm there. I'm supposed to set up. I'm supposed to be ready at 1. People start to arrive. I you know, really promoted this thing. The induction burners keep blowing out the circuit breakers. The fryers aren't turning on. The pan that I got for the induction burners was aluminum, so it wasn't actually working. It wouldn't turn on. The sensor wouldn't recognize it, so I had to get a stainless steel pan. So now it's like 45 minutes after I'm supposed to start, and people are waiting. And my lady just starts coming back like, hey, they're ready to order. What do you want me to do? And I'm like, fuck it, just take the orders.
Was this at Commonwealth?
This is at Bottlecraft. We ended up doing like $3,000 in like 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was like,
wow.
And so, and it was just
y'all are in the store. I know where Bottlecraft is.
Yeah. So we were like in the back of Bottlecraft,
Okay.
like in that little closet area, like. And so my brother, who's supposed to be, I love you, Steve, is like, man, we was at Alan's house last night, and like I just can't do it today. And it's like he just kind of checked out, and my buddy Jeff just happens to be there dropping his daughter off to help me out, and he's like, I'll help you, man. So he jumps in, and it's just like this fucking shit show. And there was this look at one point, everybody's looking at me like, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? Like nobody says it, but they all just look in their eye like it's not gonna happen.
But kind of has to, right?
It has.